Are you looking to learn more about investing in the Central Indiana real estate market? You've come to the right place. Welcome to the Indy Real Estate Investing Podcast with T&H Realty, where we discuss all things related to investing in the Central Indiana real estate market. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Indy Real Estate Investing Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Tallman with T&H Realty. We are a residential property management company that services the Central Indiana market. Today's guest is Dave Short. Dave is a longtime real estate investor here in Central Indiana. He's a licensed real estate agent. And the main reason I had him on here is he serves as the Vice President of the Central Indiana Real Estate Investors Association, more commonly known as CIREIA. So welcome to the show, Dave.
Thanks. Great to be here.
So Dave, we've known each other a long time. You were a name in real estate when Scott and I first started doing this in 2000. I think I met you through a mutual friend of ours, Brian Sanders. And I think we met you at the Marion County Sheriff's Sale, right? I mean, you were a buyer down there. Do you still do that?
I don't, since COVID hit, I haven't been to the Sheriff's Sale and tried to participate there. It got so competitive and people were overpaying for real estate properties and hedge funds were involved. So it just became not one of our better vehicles to try to get property. Yeah,
that's same story as us. So one of my biggest memories of you, Dave, and you probably don't remember this, although you may remember this item you gave me, but we exchanged business cards down there. And your business card was unlike any other I'd ever received. Well, actually, it wasn't a card. It was a poker chip.
Right.
Like, so that stuck with me. I had that poker chip, honestly, up until like a year ago when I was cleaning out some stuff. And I think all your information was outdated, but do you still have that?
I do. I still, it's probably one of the better things. I mean, the background for that is I play a lot of poker in Central Indiana and really kind of all over the country. And so that was my, people would remember me through that. And probably one of the better business items that I've done because people keep that, last week at a poker game, a guy walked up to me I hadn't seen in 7 or 8 years, and he had my poker chip in his pocket.
Yeah. I mean,
so it just doesn't get thrown away.
Absolutely. I totally get that. It's but I'll always remember you. And I've told that story to other people. Business cards are kind of a dying thing now, but I thought that was a great piece of marketing on your behalf. So, Well, I guess update everyone. I know about your background, but if you could just kind of provide everyone kind of your background, where you grew up, how you got started in real estate, and how you're still going strong today, I guess.
Well, I got my real estate license in 72.
Wow.
When I was getting out of, I had just got out of college and worked in my 8 to 5 job, or actually it was 11 to 7 at night job. I knew I didn't want to do that. And a friend of mine said, you should look at real estate. And I came to work for him I was the 5th agent to start at Carpenter Realtors.
Okay.
On the south side. So I basically started selling real estate, back in, the early 70s, and have always been attracted to it, have always loved the business, and I'm still energized at the business. I kind of change how I do business. It seems like every 4 or 5 years, 10 years, I try to reinvent myself to try other avenues in the real estate business. And over the years, I have touched all areas of the real estate business, from rentals to what I do now is mostly buy and sell. And, we did 23 flips last year, and we anticipate doing somewhere around that number this year on it. So,
yeah, that's good volume for someone who doesn't go to Sheriff's Sale. I mean, that's getting some stuff bought and sold. So, that's awesome. So 72, the year I was born, you got your license.
I get that a lot.
Yeah. So what is your what does your day look like today? Like, do you still own rentals?
I don't own any rentals.
Okay.
And we, at one point, we had 100 rentals.
Wow.
And my wife, we self-managed, which was probably the biggest mistake we did in rentals.
Mm-hmm.
My wife ran them and just got frustrated with it. And we decided, we got caught a little bit when all the new construction and funny money came into play in 2010, 2011. And we started to lose all of our good tenants to new construction.
Right.
Because they were being able to buy a brand new house for the same amount of money they were renting from us.
Right.
So we decided that, my wife didn't like it, and I didn't have the capability or the desire to manage.
Right.
So we decided to sell our inventory.
Gotcha. Yeah, it can be a grind. There's no doubt about it, especially with 100. That's a lot. That's a lot for your poor wife to have to manage.
For sure.
Can feel that. So, but again, what's your day look like? Do you look at deals every day? Are you out going in empty houses and evaluating deals, or?
Yeah, we're out looking, we're probably looking at a couple deals a day. And today we're actually closing 2 houses that we're going to flip.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're out getting wires sent, we tell all investors, before you close on it, drive by it the same day that you close on it.
Right.
Make sure it happened to the property from the time that you put the purchase agreement in.
Right.
So we'll be out after this looking at the 2 properties and then get the wires sent and go to closings this afternoon. And, this evening, for instance, I have my dinner and deals meeting. And that meeting is a part of CIREIA. And I basically spend 2 hours with CIREIA members, and we go over the 5 or 6 or 7 flips that we have going,
mm-hmm.
and give them our thought process on why we bought it, where we're at in cost. And so they get a taste of flipping without necessarily being involved day to day.
Gotcha. Well, that's a great segue. So CIREIA, we got involved, and I think I've shared this story with you, maybe even on this podcast. We got involved when we first started. So this is probably 2000, 2001. And back then it was called the Indianapolis Landlord Association, or ILA.
Right.
We didn't see a ton of value in it at that time, but I know there was a few years later a big change in leadership, and then you guys went to kind of that REIA format. So talk about CIREIA and how you got involved with it.
Well, I was slightly involved with it when it was the house with the Landlords Association.
Right.
And I kind of left it kind of the same reasons that you did. I just didn't see a lot of value in what was being presented for what I do. And then it had kind of died and was down to probably 60 or 70 members that you could count on being there.
Mm-hmm.
Then a gal by the name of Vicki Perry come in, and she was hired as executive director. And she saw the benefit of the REIA, and she saw the benefit that we could give so much to the community as far as the investment side of real estate. So she started to grow it, and she literally, blew it up.
Mm-hmm.
And she had built the organization to well over 1,000 members prior to COVID.
Wow.
So I became very active with her, came on the board, and to help her organize and keep things going. And some other people came on the board to help us. So we actually blew it up, and then COVID hit, and our membership dropped. We were the only REIA that really stayed open during COVID across the country.
Okay.
And we were the first REIA to open back up and have live meetings and we still did Zoom and some other things for the people that went out, but we were the first ones to come back live in the country. Well, by that time, our membership had dropped to the 400 range.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we're in the process of starting to rebuild that back up, and we're getting there. We're back up to 600 members, and hopefully we'll push it to 750, 800 the next couple of years, and kind of get back to where we were at.
Where you were. Okay. So for people, because like you mentioned, there's REIAs all over the country. So for CIREIA, the Central Indiana REIA, if I'm interested, like what does it offer me as an investor to join up? There's membership dues, I'm sure. And so what does CIREIA offer local investors here?
Well, what CIREIA brings to local investors is we have a lot of our members are newbies. So their first opportunity to get their feet wet and to try to determine what part of the real estate industry that they would like to be in. And so our membership we did an analysis a couple of weeks ago. Our membership is $279 a year.
Okay.
And for that, you get 2 monthly meetings. The first Thursday of every month, we have our main meeting, and we'll have anywhere from 120 to 140 people at that meeting. We normally have a hard topic for about an hour and a half, and we have networking and things like that where people can present deals. Then the third Tuesday of every month, then we have a Tuesday meeting, which is normally a little bit smaller, but we take what we did on the first Thursday of every month and expand it and have it like a workshop for people that want to get more knowledge in what we covered the Thursday. Okay. The beauty with CIREIA, we have, if you attended every event that CIREIA puts on for free every month, and the main meetings, your cost of ownership would be about $4 a meeting.
Gotcha.
So you get just tremendous real estate value and where you want to be. I mean, I have my subgroup, which is free. It's the third Thursday of every month, and where we go over all of our flips, and you get to corner me and ask the questions and network with people that want to flip. Simple Wholesaling has a meetup every month for wholesalers, people that want to learn that business. Like this month's meeting, they took a wholesale deal from start to finish. So if you want to get into that area, we have a BRRRR strategy meeting. One of the top BRRRR guys in the city, Grant Anderson, runs that. We have an Airbnb meeting subgroup. Elizabeth Sickle runs that. Elizabeth is, one of the top coaches and trainers in the country and on Airbnb, and we get her for free.
Wow.
So we bring a lot of value to our people. And for seasoned investors, they can come in and, they can help the people that help them. I've mentored and coached a lot of people over the years, and now sometimes it's their turn to come in and give back to our new people coming in. And they're also resources. So investors can come into our building and be at our meetings, and they can network too. And, through the meetings, I've got a lot of private money. I've got a lot of flip deals that people couldn't do. So even as seasoned as I am, the meetings bring a tremendous amount of value.
Right.
That you can come in and people can learn start to learn the trade, and hopefully we help them not make mistakes.
Yeah.
I mean, you've flipped a lot of houses, and flipping is a hard business. It's rewarding and it's fun, but it's an extremely hard business.
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot on this podcast. I mean, there's few things in real estate that'll get your adrenaline going like an auction. And
Right.
when you go to closing and you make good money, I mean, it's such a satisfying thing. But it can be, just like being a landlord, it can be a grind. And you can with flipping, it's all about what you buy it for, and you can get caught if you're not really on your game. So you mentioned a lot of newbies, and it totally makes sense that an organization like that would draw in people looking to learn. What's your ratio? I mean, there's guys like you, there's, brand new investors. So what's the mix there? Do you have a sense of that? Like,
But I would say the mix would probably be an 80% very novice type investors, maybe done one or two deals or not doing a deal or wanting to do a deal. And then there's probably 20% at the meetings that are fairly seasoned investors.
okay.
We have, like guys like you, we like to get involved because, you manage property and you do it well. And, are people, we're telling people, if I train them, I'm saying, okay, you need to manage your first two or three and then turn them over to a management company.
Right.
But so you can see what their side of it is, because their side of it is very difficult too. And if you haven't done it before, you don't know what they're dealing with every day that may cost you money and you don't understand why.
Right. Yeah. So it certainly sounds like you got some thought leaders down there. Because you talk about the short-term rentals, the BRRRR strategies, the wholesaling strategies, the, flipping I mean, there's just all kinds of, I guess, parts of real estate that if you're interested in real estate at all, sounds like you could benefit from.
Yeah. And, we have a lot of what I call added value type groups that we do. Like we'll have a Super Saturday, and it's, I don't remember now. I think it's around $129 a person, but you'll actually tour 4 houses that day, and the owner investor is there, and they're sharing with you the scope of work, and they're sharing with you what they hope to make on the house. So you get to see investors that are doing it every day in action that are CIREIA members.
Wow.
And it's a great learning experience, and the people just love it. I mean, Elizabeth put on a 2-evening workshop where you went to 2 Airbnbs that she manages, and these Airbnbs are renting for $3,000 a night.
Wow.
So you get to see the other side of what Airbnb can be.
Right.
And then she'll show another one that's maybe leasing for $90 a night on the average.
Yeah.
So there's substantial extended things that you can get involved in. I mean, part of CIREIA is I teach a 3-day boot camp. And basically it's A to Z on flipping houses, including being in the field and looking at 3 projects that we have going. Ones that we just bought and ready to go, 2, 1 halfway through, and 3, one that, hey, this is how we want you to show your property.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we just bring so much value that you can get, just like the class I teach. I'm proud of it, and that we've had people come to us and say, hey, I've been to 4-day seminars for $30,000, and this is nothing like that. And I get this kind of, same kind of coaching and the same kind of information.
Yeah, because there's tons of seminars you can go to or conferences you can go to when you're one of 500 people sitting in an audience listening to somebody talk about whatever it is. And then it sounds like you guys provide a little more, lack of a better word, intimacy. There's there's that group where you can all kind of rub elbows and really interact with each other.
It can get as in-depth as you want. With our newbies, we really want them to grasp onto the concepts and stuff that we try to bring to them, and to see if they're, and a lot of newbies, kind of figure out that, hey, this is not what I want to do, but it keeps them from getting in the middle of a deal that they lose $25,000 on.
Right.
And we're, every one of our board members, which is Sterling Davis is the president, and Grant Anderson's the treasurer, our phone's always open to a CIREIA member. Elizabeth Butler's our executive director, and she's got a wealth of knowledge in all kinds of aspects in real estate.
Right. So where do you guys meet?
We meet at the Irvington Event Center, which is 6767 East Washington. And it's a center that I actually own and developed, pre-COVID. I call it, we're starting to get a lot of traction now, but I call it, it's like it's the opposite of the field of dreams. I built it and they couldn't come because of COVID.
Right.
So we're starting to get traction there. We have a 5,500 square foot co-working space as part of it.
Nice.
And we're trying to make that a real estate incubator for CIREIA members and for people who are in the real estate business.
Gotcha.
Our tenant base now is a title company. We have 2 contractors. I'm here all the time now. We have two flippers in the space, and we have memberships which are $129 a month, which you can use our space and utilize conference rooms. And we have 5 or 6 flippers that's in that space.
Right. It's a neat concept. I mean, there's a lot of those, those co-working spaces are out there, but they're, we looked at one a while back and it's just multiple industries. You don't know what you're going to get in there necessarily, but you're really focusing on trying to bring real estate people together.
Yeah, we're trying to make it a real estate incubator. And, part of that is the community that we create on it, because I get a lot of requests for coaching and I'm really not set up to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of that, if you're a member of our space, and you can be a member of our space for $129 a month, then you can come to our every other Monday. We have a 2-hour coaching session, and we're actually calling it a mastermind, where people that are in our industry can come bring their situations, and we'll help everybody work through it and bring opportunities. I brought an opportunity on a house last week or 2 weeks ago that I didn't want to do. And one of our members of our mastermind did it and did a flip in 2 weeks and made $40,000.
Nice.
And I'm thinking, well, man, if it's that good, I probably should have taken a better look.
A little regret there.
Instead of just bringing it to the group.
Right.
It's a great group, and we're developing into family in that industry.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, you and I've talked about CIREIA. I'm going to commit to attending at least 1 or 2 events this year, because we work with so many out-of-state people. But I'll say this: it was something we've seen. And so I say that because CIREIA is they're all local people. I mean, it makes sense. They're local investors who want to work with local people here. And our main, obviously, far and away, our biggest portion of our client base here is they're out of state. But we are getting, interestingly enough, we've noticed a trend in the last 6 months or so, more and more local people, it seems, are turning their assets, their portfolios over to property managers. Is that just something that is kind of a blip, an anomaly, or, maybe just a coincidence? But are you getting any sense of that people are getting more trusting of property managers, or not?
We're getting a lot more. I mean, we're seeing that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We're, like you said, out-of-state investors, and it all kind of goes with our economy. It goes with the way people are today, is that people are so busy. If they can take it off their plate, the cost of your service is relatively inexpensive for what they're managing.
Right.
Because I was my wife was a good property manager. I was a terrible property manager. And I would, my feeling with being in the industry, and I think a lot of out-of-state investors are like that, I could go sell a house and lose the rent for the month and be ahead. Because I didn't like showing the property. I didn't like doing the maintenance or getting people to do the maintenance. So I think the people that are buying the kind of quality real estate that you tend to manage, is that they would much rather work their business and not have to deal with what they would consider the pennies on the dollar that they can hire for you,
right.
and protect their asset.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said, you make the decision to hire a property manager when your time becomes more valuable than the cost of the service, right? I mean, it's because you can be doing, so, people value their time a lot of different ways. Like you mentioned, you don't want to show a property because you need to attend an auction, or you need to go out and look at a deal that just hit the market or whatever it is. That may cost you a lease, but you gain a lot more. And then the other side of that is, kids get older and, they grow up and you want to spend time with them or attend their sporting events or whatever it is. But we seem to be seeing that more. And I don't know if it's because and these are typically not onesie twosies. These are like decent portfolios, like several homes that they say, I'm done. We're going to turn it over to you guys. They're kind of in your wife's position, I guess, several years ago, not 100, but they're just, we've done this long enough, or, it's come time that we want to turn this over to someone that can do it probably better.
The beauty with what you're dealing with in regards to the quality of homes, the astute investors, out of state guys or local guys that's bought the Fisher's property, the Westfield property, the Broad Ripple property, they've seen a tremendous amount of growth.
Yeah.
And now they're in a position they really don't want to sell it and make $50 or $60 or $100,000 and pay the tax when the property now is performing substantially better than they ever thought it would.
Right. Yeah.
Cash flow.
Because rents have risen, and they got into the market where interest rates were very, very favorable. And so, yeah, I mean, you're right. It becomes more profitable over time. And that's a good segue, because I want to talk to you. I mean, you've seen a lot of markets. We both were involved in 2007, 2008, when the market crashed and share sales were humongous. What do you make of this market? Like, what does it scare you? Does it excite you? I mean, interest rates have doubled, and tell me your thoughts.
In our training, we put out that investors buy when it's going up, they buy when it's going down, they buy when it's stagnant.
Yep.
So we just tend to make adjustments. Like in my flipping business, for instance, the major adjustments that we've made is that we now are trying to buy in what I call peripheral areas. Peripheral being the Carmel, the Fortville, the Greenfield, the LaPel, the Pendleton, buy in neighborhoods that, number one, they're limited in housing. That's what's out there for a nice product. And I've been flipping on and off. I've been doing it full time for probably 15 years now. And I've never seen a time that if you put out a really good product, somebody's going to buy it at fair market value.
Right.
So we really concentrate on that to make sure that our product is as good as, they might not buy our house, but it's going to be as nice as they see for the money. So we're really conscious of that. I really think probably what we're seeing is some of the flip numbers, or some of the houses that we're flipping, we're buying now at a substantially better price, because the media has softened the sellers for us.
Right.
Oh, it's awful. Interest rates are sky high. Well, interest rates are, they're really, really good. They're really good.
Right.
And I can give some stories back in the early 80s. We sold houses at 16 and a half, 30-year fixed. That's really, really bad.
Yeah. And that's a bad interest rate.
Yeah, that's a bad interest rate. But on the same token, we made comments to people back then, if interest rates ever got to 12 again, like we think we're living with this forever, then if interest rates gets to 10%, we'll kill it. We'll just destroy the market. Right. And now it went to 10, they would think was in a 7-year recession.
Right.
So today, yesterday I saw that 30-year fixed got below 6 in some areas in Indianapolis. 15 years or 5.25. And, those are tremendous rates.
Yeah.
And 2%, 3% like we had for a while it was just a spoiler for the market. So now it's just a matter of people will be back in the market. Indianapolis is still 5 years behind the curve on housing that they need.
Mm-hmm.
So it would certainly make sense that anything under $300,000 will come back around.
Right. So to answer the question, this real estate market doesn't scare you. You seem to be thriving in it, which is great. I think it's, because I think there was a time, especially mid-year of 2022, where it seems like investors just like stopped, right? It was like the housing market just kind of put the brakes on. There weren't many sellers. There weren't many buyers, but we're seeing it definitely. Our buyers are starting to, gain more confidence, kind of readjusting to things. But you mentioned interest rates. Again, by comparison, we've seen much higher interest rates. You and I have. You've seen much higher than I have, but I've seen, rates even higher than today. And you can do well in any market. It's just about finding your niche and just making sure your numbers work and moving forward with stuff.
Yeah, and I think you can buy, quite honestly, I think flippers can buy better product today that doesn't take reinventing the wheel.
Right.
I think people, investors who want to buy rental property can buy rental property today at a much better price and have better quality product than they would have got 6 or 7 months ago.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And the growth will come back around. And I think we've still got growth actually, but what we just don't have what I call the hyperinflation of the house that's out there today. What puzzles me is, and it's the mentality sometimes of realtors and other buyers is, in June, if you put a house on it, you might have 20 offers at 10 to 15,000, 20,000 over ask.
Right.
Well, my thing, what I had hang my hat on, where'd those buyers go? They're still out there. So they're going to slowly creep back in the market, and they're going to see that a 5.5, 30-year fixed at buying a house $20,000 less than they would have had to pay for it in June. They're at the same number,
right?
From a payment standpoint, and they have an increased equity position,
right?
That's out there. So when you balance 3% against 5.5 at $20,000 or $25,000 less on the purchase price, and you can get inspections, you can get things that are prudent business decisions that people weren't doing.
Right.
And the other thing, it was just amazing. I mean, we sold a lot of houses, a lot of flip properties without inspections.
Yeah.
I would just soon have some sort of an inspection, because I want to make sure we did the house right. And so most of the flips that we did, if they didn't get an inspection, either we split a warranty with them or got a warranty. And, because, I want somebody else, we miss stuff. I mean, no flipper's perfect.
Absolutely.
And, my thought is I probably would go back and correct it if I considered a pre-existing condition
right
on the house.
Right.
But a lot of flippers wouldn't do that.
Right.
Hey, you bought it as is, you move on.
Right.
And I can't tell you how many times we went back and corrected something 6 months or a year later that, we obviously just missed.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate you being on here, Dave. You've got some good insight into things. So before I let you go, I'd like to ask you just a couple of general questions. What's your favorite restaurant in Indianapolis?
I'm going to put Harry and Izzy's at the top. We went there for my wife's birthday, and it was just amazing. I mean, I think between us, we got one entree and went with a lot of their appetizers and stuff, and it was so good.
Yeah. Did you go to the one north side or downtown?
North side.
North side. Okay.
North side, yeah.
Yeah. Favorite bar?
I'm not a drinker.
Okay.
So if I had a favorite bar, I hang out with a lot of my buddies, is the Havana Cigar Bar.
Okay. Tell me, I know that name. That's a newish place, right? Or is it not?
Well, it's 4 years, probably three,
Okay.
4 years. It's at the Yard in Fishers,
Okay. Okay.
and it's a similar, people would know, blend or something. It's
Yeah.
something
Blend.
similar. I mean, I don't smoke either, but that's just a pretty cool place to hang out
Fun place to hang out. All right.
with buddies. Yeah.
All right.
Um,
And then finally, and this, you'll have as much insight to anybody as this, but if you could live anywhere in Indianapolis and price wasn't a consideration, where would you live?
well, it's the place that I lived for 20 years, which was the Hawthorns
Okay.
at Brook School Road.
Yeah.
I belong to the Hawthorns Country Club. And we live now in some condos that used to be called watercolors.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife and I downsized a few years ago. And it's a great story about my wife, because my wife's very entangled in our business and is really good. And we had looked in the watercolors, is where we live now, it's called the Villa, Geist Villas.
Okay.
And we had been looking and couldn't find something. So we found a house in there. And I dragged my feet and we lost it. And then another one come on and it was more money. I was dragging my feet again. My wife cornered me and says, look, you've picked out every home we've ever owned and I've loved every one of them, but I want that house.
All right.
So I was under contract the next day and we bought the house.
Yeah. I mean, wives and significant others, I think they have the biggest say in housing decisions, I think. But just
Right.
a tangent of that question. Have you ever lived in a house you bought at sheriff's sale?
Yes.
Yeah.
The very first house I bought at sheriff's sale.
Really?
Yeah. And that was 1984 or 85.
Okay.
It was when a lot of the people wouldn't know it was called the Resolution Trust Corporation.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically took in foreclosures and bought banks, and we bought a home-orama house there. And
Okay.
I bought it with a local investor, Tom Mattingly.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a house that was in a home-orama, and I took my wife to the house. And at the time we lived in Avalon Hills, and walked her through it and said, you know, if you're going to do this stuff, I'm going to live in this house.
Right.
So I had to, next day I bought Tom Mattingly out and we lived in the house for 5 years.
Wow. Nice. Yeah. We did the same. We did the same. We bought one at sheriff's sale, had no intention of living there, and then kind of wanted to move. And my wife went, saw it, said, okay, I think this works. And we were there for 15 years. I mean, so that's
Right.
And Scott, my business partner, is the same thing. He bought one and we bought one and he moved in and he's still there. So I'm always curious about that, because sometimes, it sounds like you bought yours intentionally though, but
well, we bought it to flip.
To flip it. Okay.
I didn't buy it to live in it. And because when we bought it, we couldn't afford it. So,
right.
But we just made it work. And, we lived in it for 10 years, sold it for, a really good profit, and moved to the Hawthorns at that point.
Gotcha.
But, I'm like you. I really, really missed the sheriff's sale.
Mm-hmm.
Because I like the adrenaline. And, over the years, I've probably bought at least 200 houses from the sheriff's sale.
Yeah.
And I remember all the way back when we were buying at sheriff's sale where there was only 50 properties there.
Yeah.
And I left for a while and I came back to do sheriff's sales, and there was 700 there, and there was 4 sheriff's sales a month going on.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because there were so many foreclosures. They had to have those ancillary sales because they couldn't put them all in one month. There was just too much to do in one day.
Right.
So, well, great. Dave, thanks so much for joining me. It's been great chatting with you. If people want to reach out to you, connect with you, learn from you, join CIREIA, I mean, what's the best way to connect with you?
Probably through my email, which is dshort@c21sheets, SCHEETZ.com. I still have an office at Sheets.
Wow.
And my son is still there. So we have an office together. And then you can always reach out on my cell, 317-590-4499.
All right. Well, I hope to see you at Sheriff's or at the CIREIA, Dave. We need to be a part of that. I think it's a great organization. $279 a year, $4 a meeting if you maximize. That's a pretty neat number. Seems like it's a pretty good deal. So, well, again, thanks, Dave, for joining me. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
We hope everyone's picked up some information that'll help them with their investing. We'll be back next month with another podcast. In the meantime, we encourage you to share this podcast with your investing friends. Leave us a review and don't hesitate to reach out to us with any questions. Until next time, thanks so much for listening, and please stay invested in your investment.